Call this meeting to order for Monday, January 29th, 2018. Approval of the agenda. Aye.
That council adopt the agenda of Monday, January 29th, 2018, regular meeting of council as presented.
Seconder, Councilor Kirby. All in favor? No minutes to adopt. Straight to correspondence. High on Ice Festival in Fort St. John. You're invited. I don't know if anybody wants to attend. Councilor Casey?
I was just going to move for information, Your Worship.
Okay. Second for that. Okay. And you got, okay, all in favor? Grizzly Valley Saddle Club. Any information or discussion? Councilor Cocker.
For discussion, we make.
Okay, second there. Councilor Kirby. Go ahead.
I'm actually just wondering if we can add this in. I know they came in as a delegation, they're looking for any kind of the tables and chairs and their porta potties for this year's fall fair.
Making a motion for that.
I'll make a motion, I thought it was something already done with that.
I don't believe so.
Okay,
So I make a motion that we do the in-kind for the third annual Grizzly Valley Fall Fair for tables and porta potties.
second there. Okay. Discussion on that? All in favor? Thunder Ridge Elementary School, Slush Park. Information or discussion? Councilor Kirby,
For discussion?
seconder? Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would just like to say this was a good report that was presented, and they came up with a lot of good ideas. And it's nice to see the school coming and using council chambers. And after reading this, we'll have something to look at if we decide to think of a splash park in the future.
Okay.
Thank you, Worship. I agree. I thought it was well put together as well. And I would assume that, hope that we can put that in a, to make sure we at least include the topic so we can talk about it further at that time. But I thought it was very well done. It would be a nice addition to Thunder Ridge, I think.
I know I had a group in here earlier in that, younger kids, and the splash park was a big deal too. That's okay.
I know this is something we've talked about before, and it just seemed to get derailed last time where we couldn't really agree on the location. The Lions Club came forward with a proposal, and I think before that we had been talking about it in a relatively serious manner. This one here, it looks like most of the work's already been done for us. They've sat in our chairs, and it looks like they've done maybe as well as we could have too. But it's a great idea, and it would go over well. Maybe we should start thinking a lot more serious about it. Congratulations to this class, so they definitely had their homework done.
So do we have to include that in our budget discussions? Do we have to make a motion or anything?
You would need to make a motion to include it in your budget discussions, Your Worship. Council took a look at these plans at that special meeting you had about the community center and decided not to move forward with it at that time. There's no way we could include the splash park for construction in this season. We need the spring in order to identify areas. So if council wanted to, you could include funds this year to explore where a splash park location could go. But that's the most that you could do this year.
Started or? Okay. Secondary, Councilor Casey. Any more discussion on it? All in favor? .5, Thunder Ridge Interpreter funding. You have a recommendation there? Information discussion. Okay.
For discussion?
Oh, Chetwynd, sorry. District of Chetwynd Nursing Program, Northeast. Information
discussion?
Seconder?
Just curious where we are with the next meeting that we have set up with the doctors. How are we looking for that? This is kind of a little off topic with it, but.
February 13th. I'm going to run on Friday, no, Thursday. John. Anything else, Councillor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it's worth, supporting. I think, collaborating with our health issues is something that we should just continue. And I know we will be having our meeting on the 13th, but if Your Worship has already have you had any conversations with the other mayors? regarding
Yeah,
this?
we had, I was at a meeting with the Northern Medical Trust in Prince George when I was down there. And we had discussions and brought up the fact that we did a pretty good job with the doctors when that was an issue. At the same level of effort put into the nurses, and that was agreed to. It's going to come up again in NCLGA and in Fort Nelson, and there's other meetings going on right now. That I'm sure you're going to see a lot more dollars put into it, a lot more discussion.
Okay, so have you had discussions with the other mayors in the area regarding this issue? So is this something that we should be supporting and
Actually, Chetwynd, funny is they paid their dues to the Northern Medical Trust, but they're not part of it. They will be after the next meeting we have, but, so sending a letter of support, I don't think would be wrong.
I'll make a motion to send a letter of support. This letter.
Any more discussion on it? All in favor?
Your Worship, so we're sending a letter to the regional district asking them to approach the province?
Yeah.
Your Worship, while we're on the topic, I have a question. Council's talked about using municipal funds to attract different medical professionals to Tumbler Ridge. Since this has become an issue, I've started to talk to people who know of people that may want to come. Should I be talking to these people and starting negotiations to try and get them to our community? This would be nurses, lab techs, and all of that stuff, or is this something that you want left to dealt with by these regional authorities?
Go ahead.
So I'd like to wait to hear what the doctors have to say. I'd like to hear from the people that are in the industry and talk to them first and see what they feel our needs are. Kind of get a better handle from Northern Health of what they pay for and the moving expenses and all that type of information before we go jump the gun and say, yeah, we're just going to bring in lab techs or whatever. We need to know what they need first more than anything. And I think that's the most important part, to have that background from them first or anything else. But I think at some point, that's the direction that I think I want to head, is to do what we can to sweeten the pot to get the people that we need in Tumbler Ridge.
Yeah, by then, by the time we have that meeting, I'll have been at these other meetings, and I did mention the fact that we in Tumbler Ridge were thinking about stepping out of the box to attract nurses, because we do have a real issue here, and kind of consensus there was that we should be looking at the loans they have for education. Yeah, forgiving those over for maybe a 3-year sign up and stuff like that. But I know there's been other things mentioned in our meeting, so it'd be worthwhile discussing that when we do get to.
Yeah, that's fine. So I'll wait and I won't make any offers to the nurses or lab techs. I won't even start the discussions.
Yeah, I don't think we've just come to that decision yet.
Okay.
Okay, 6.5, Tumbler Ridge Interpretive Trail. Information or discussion?
open for discussion, please?
Seconder. Kirby, go ahead.
This started quite some time ago, and it really kind of got, I guess maybe the first time we took a walk back through there, you were present, the Duncan Keller, myself. That was prior to any thinning out or anything that was going to be done back there, and I guess the plan was quite different with what actually took place. They were going in and they were really looking at removing a lot of the not only infected trees, but actually even making it look, maybe even to make a few dollars. And I remember that we told them to put the brakes on that, because this place here, but when you went in and started looking around, you could see the potential in there. And I think that's so it's kind of morphed into where we are right now. Only maybe not as grand as what this proposal here is. The town put in a grant, an application for a grant, for the grant, and I was actually pretty surprised at the funding that became available for it. And I know that the $174,000, that would be the district's input to obtain the money that we've already received, that is sitting in our bank account. So it's already approved, and the money's here. And it's something that the community forest has always been. This is be pretty passionate about this. Working with the teachers over at the school, the outdoor ed class, and also the gym teachers he would be utilizing this also for cross country skiing, and not only to mention the different thing it gives to everybody that lives in Tullamore Ridge. It'd be a fantastic place to walk. And so we had our strategic planning meeting on January 12th, 13th, and this topic did come up, and it came up that it is something that we'd like to see as a legacy project by the community forest. And that's why the proposal was put forward and voted on by our board members, that we'd be willing to take the full 174, whatever else is on there, and not take that burden off the district. So, and there's also a lot of conversation about maintaining the trails, so that's something else that we have to iron out too. So that's something that, and we intend to iron it out. So anyway, that's the gist of the why I wanted to talk about it here, and also like to consider removing it from the budget, because if it was accepted, it really wouldn't be a budget item for the district. It would actually come out of the funds that by the community forest. So it's not anything that we need to burden ourselves with at budget time. So,
Mr. Wall, how does that work?
The district was the entity who applied for the grant. So what we would do is we would calculate the amount of money we get coming in our income, but we do have to account for it in our expenditure, because we will be the ones who undertake the grant and have to do the reporting back to the province. So anytime we get money out, even though it's accompanied by money in, we don't just wipe it off our balance sheets. We have to record it on both sections. So with this project, we've got the money from the province. If council goes ahead with it, we've also got the money from the community forest. So it would be, the project's 410. We would show that amount in income. We would also show that amount in expenditures. So it won't get wiped off our balance sheets. We need to account for our expenditures.
okay.
It would be nice to have dollars spent on an interpretive trail and not cost the district hardly anything. Great.
Well, the potential there for the high school is immense, as well as anybody who wants to walk back there and take a look. And if any of the councillors have had an opportunity to go back and take a look, they'll understand exactly what we're talking about there. It's
Nice area.
yeah.
The thing was, I actually have some questions to Councilor McKay. I'm going to bring it up in the budget discussion because it's actually in here. I have some concerns with it, and some of the concerns I have, it's not in regards to applying for the grant and then the community forest is going to top that up. But, to me, the community forest is owned by the taxpayers and run by a board the council voted on. And I'm just curious in some things, because like to me, we say to schools, so teachers and outdoor ed, and I've talked to some people, some are for it, some are against it. But I don't know if I have a clear concept in my head here. Like, are we looking at plowing, like you say cross country skiing, but maintaining it by who? You guys are going to hammer this out later, before it's built or after it's built. Is it paved trails, rock trails? Are we plowing it? Like, I'm curious on that part of it. Like, I wasn't here at the meeting, and I did come in and talk to
Mr. Wall.
Mr. Wall, thank you. To Mr. Wall, and same kind of questions to him is, I guess the plans that come out, it wasn't at the meeting, and that's my fault, not any other counselor. But yeah, I'm curious on some of that, like, you know, to me, the community forest is owned by the taxpayers, and we say teachers and outdoor ed want this, and I know there was a teacher that came up as well in regards to the pond. And I mean, there's something in our budget about doing a whole overview of this thing. So, or to me, are we putting the cart before the horse, or are we gonna go build this trail before we go and do the whole survey of it? Because I think it's an $85,000 budget line to go in and do an overview of what could be done or not be done.
I think we always do a plan before we do. I can't think of anything that we didn't have a plan before we started. I guess that's go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody, again, take the time to go in there and walk back there and take a look. And you'll see that what is proposed back there wouldn't interfere with any plan that's gonna take place in the future. I mean, there's no one gonna go in and level off those hills and put up any kind of a buildings back there. It's just not suitable for that. The community forest is 100% owned by the district. It's not owned by the taxpayer. The money that's made by the community forest is we are accountable to the district for it. That's where the line ends. We're a not-for-profit corporation. So it's a little bit of a misconception that the taxpayer actually, there is a little bit of there's a wall between that. Definitely the district has a lot to say. We are 100% owners of the community forest.
So you say it's owned by the district now, and of course, Mr. Wall, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, we had this discussion today, and that's kind of not the way it's understood. The community district still is, to me, is taxpayers, and the taxpayers pay to the district, that's how we run the district.
So, Your Worship, the district owns the community forest. The community forest is a corporation of the district of Tumbler Ridge. We own 100% of the shares of it. If there's no shares of it, but we own it. We're the sole proprietor of it. Council has chosen through the creation of the community forest, and this has to do with provincial legislation, that it's going to be run through a board appointed by council, which you guys do through votes. Whether or not it's owned by the taxpayers of Tumbler Ridge is really a matter of interpretation for how council wants to look at it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. So on the Council McKay it's owned by the district. We voted a board in as councillors, which is great. I mean, I'll be honest, as a councillor, I don't think I have the full knowledge of the community forest. And I mentioned that many times about having the community forest come in at a PMP to kind of hammer this out, because we voted in a board, but then when money's thrown around, we have no say. And I have a concern with it. I'm not saying it's not a great idea, but there's other things there that are out there as well that this money can be put towards. I mean, one of the concerns I have is 2 years ago it came forward about trying to give money to the high school because of children in need. So we brought the school in, and the principal and all of them said, no, that's not actually the truth or the fact.
Which they're wrong.
Okay,
Right.
well, that's
So
coming from our, but I'm just saying, that
Yeah.
came from our principals and everything else. And then, to me, like, talking to Mr. Wall, when we have and correct me if I'm wrong, but when we have a council that's put to a board, to me, they're supposed to take what council is saying here to the board, or will of council. So to me, it got denied here, and then it went to community forest and got approved.
Okay, just one thing, because let me try and handle one
Yeah,
thing
no
at a time.
problem.
First of all, my responsibility is to the district of Tumbler Ridge, not to the community forest. I'm sitting on that as a member of the district of Tumbler Ridge as a councillor, right? And that was initially why I got interested in it. I was there at the conception of it, and the community involvement. I mean, it means a lot of things, and that's why we have public meetings, and we're looking for public involvement. You know, if the public had come in and said something about this thing here, maybe not being exactly what we want, but we don't see any of that. As a matter of fact, we hear quite the opposite in everybody we talk to, and that's Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society, Geopark. We had a glowing letter from West Moberly, and anybody else that we've talked to on this. The only people that we can't seem to get it past is really council. And for what reason, I don't know. I mean, like I say,
We're getting kind of off topic
yeah, but
here.
if we're going to close something down, go take a look at what we're talking about.
I'm just saying, this would be a good PMP discussion, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what we should direct staff to do, is to get on one of our PMPs, where we can have Duncan and that all here, and we can discuss this and just straighten everybody out so that they know where we're. You've got a lot of questions, obviously.
I have tons, and I mean, like I said, your worship, I said it before.
So, yeah, so, and really, there's a lot of questions how the community force is set up, more than about the interpretive trail. So we'll leave it at this, and then we'll, we can have see if you can arrange a PMP that we can have the community force here, and we can discuss on how it is set up.
So I will add the community force to the PNP here coming on February 13th, but after that, council's gonna need to make a decision on this interpretive trail. And it's later on in your budget, so this issue may pop up again in this council meeting. You guys do have the ability to do that, but if we're going to meet budget timelines, not just budget timelines, it's if we're going forward with this, we need to get an RFP created and ready to go pretty soon. So you won't have too much time after that February 13th meeting to make a decision on whether or not the district's going to.
Any more discussion on the interpretive trail?
I'm not comfortable rushing into this right now, to tell you the truth. Like, seems like to me that we're well, you got to make this decision right away, and we got to just do it. And to do this trail is all. Yeah, let's just do it. Whenever we try to do anything up here as council, we're always brought forward with, you got to check the bylaws, you got to make sure the land is zoned for that, you got to do this, you got to do that. We haven't even really discussed the prospect of that land ever being for sale to anyone else. And again, I'm along with what Councillor Krakelka is saying. I don't understand how the community forest, which belongs to the district of Tumbler Ridge, can just decide, oh, we're going to pay the $175,000 for the district of Tumbler Ridge. That money, as far as I'm concerned, belongs to the district of Tumbler Ridge. The entity was created by the district of Tumbler Ridge. It's owned 100% by the district of Tumbler Ridge. And I don't feel comfortable spending $175,000 on something that, doesn't really, in my mind, do anything for the community. Provide some type of a trail that, the kids can use it for their school trips or whatever they're going to use it for. But, that's a lot of money to just to leave it to a board of 4, 5, 6 people to decide. If they're doing small grants around the community or planting flowers or trees or whatever they're doing, I don't really have much of an issue with that stuff. When we start talking big ticket items, $175,000, like that's a pile of money. That is a lot of money that we could say, no, let's not put that into that. Let's direct that money into something else. Something that, I don't know, the bridges going into the Wolverine might be an example that maybe they could utilize that trail out there to get more tourism in town. I don't know, but to me, I just think we're heading, where Jordan says, oh, we got to make a decision by the 13th. I don't feel comfortable making that decision being rushed. I want to have discussion, talks. I want to look at the area. I've walked through the area many, many times, squatted through there as a kid, know the area very well. I understand what they've done in there by cleaning and thinning the trees up. But I don't know. To me, I think it's a lot of money for a board to be able to decide that they're going to spend up the districts. We need better clarity on it, I guess.
When we made the application for the grant, we must have at one point decided we're going to do this, right?
So
No, we did not. We decided to apply for a grant. We did not say that we're doing the trail. I remember that distinctly because that was discussed in here.
That was not decided on?
So just to go back, on timelines, I'm telling you the timelines because these are the timelines. This is not a staff project.
No, that's
So
right.
if council wants to do it, I'm telling you that because you need to know the decision points. Now, on the other side of it, council decided to apply for this grant. Council had a lot of questions on it. You guys didn't get your questions answered for whatever reason. I think there's obviously still questions on where you are, and now we're at the point of decision time, right? So what council wants to do, and I'm not here to argue any of those points. If council doesn't want to do the project, don't do the project, right? Take it out of the budget and we move on. There's the risk that you're going to lose the grant. The grant was for $255,000, I believe, came from rural dividend funding, so may or may not be available next time. That's what council's going to have to decide. You've got the issues with your community forest. If you feel that it's appropriate or for them to be doing that funding, that's one issue. And you also have a separate issue of this project. Council may say we don't feel it's appropriate for the community forest to contribute to it, but we want to contribute to it and have the district pay the remainder of it. So there are two issues here. They don't all have to be decided at the same time, but if you want staff to complete this project this year, we're gonna need to have a decision sooner rather than later. Well, yeah.
Councillor Kirby?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think Mr. Wall kind of answered my questions, that going into the PMP, we have two topics here. We have the interpretive trail and then how the community forest operates. To me, how the community forest operates is something that we can do later. It's the interpretive trail. Their council was in favor of a trail system in that area. True, we haven't come to exactly what that's going to entail, but I think that should be the topic of the PMP, is the trail itself, not on how community forest is run.
It's two different issues. Councillor McKay?
Yeah, just again, to reiterate a little bit, but like we have the money sitting in the bank, and Mr. Wall pointed out the timeliness of this. I know we have to put it out for an RFP, but it would sure be nice to talk to our local guys first, and whether that's saying something wrong, I don't know. But I mean, it'd be nice to at least prepare for this. It's coming, and get your chance to put something together, a decent proposal, because absolutely, all guaranteed, all things being equal, I know where my choice would go and who is going to be picked to do this work.
Yeah, local hire like the trail across the top there.
Yeah.
I think most of the council would be agreeable to something like that. But, that's a discussion we can have.
Yeah.
Just on that topic, the trail that was done up on the top wasn't done by the district, it was done by the chamber. The district is mandated to follow NWPTA guidelines in purchasing, and because this project is over the $200,000 threshold, we will be mandated to do it through that system. Not every entity has to do it through that. We will have to do it through the NWPTA guidelines, which restrict the ability for local hire, just so council is aware.
Alrighty. Uh, 6.6, letter of support for the adoption of the flexible ride sharing regulation in the province of BC. Information or discussion? Kirby?
Let's bring it up for discussion.
Seconder? Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to see if council has any suggestions on this. I mean, to me, it's kind of moving forward with the times, and if we can offer, you know, if there's ways to have different ride sharing out there, especially for groups that are lacking, you know, drivers and accessibility to getting into town, maybe it's something that we should be supporting. I don't know myself what the need is in town, if there is a specific or we're missing that need, but, you know, just see if anybody else had any thing to add or know anything that I don't.
Yeah, you talked to Rose and yeah. So I'm not sure, what were they asking for this?
A letter of support. Now, just how it would affect our local, you know, how it's gonna maybe affect our cab services in town, if that's gonna, you know, hurt them, or, you know, because I guess it talks of different things like Uber or, you know, but, you know, it's something that I think we could support.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, it does mention Uber and stuff like that. I mean, I think our cab company's come a long ways, 2 drivers on stuff like that. But it does talk in regards to residents' needs, rural communities. And I think it's a big need of getting out of town. The people that are trying to get to, like sometimes TR Cares can't take it, or they don't qualify for that ride. So whether it's an Uber thing or like in Alberta from Grand Cache to Grand Prairie, somebody runs a personal 15-passenger van. I think this, you know, if our letter kind of states that too, that we're not just looking at Uber, we're looking at being able to take control of the Greyhound, because I believe they still have the contract on their highway, that you can't, could be wrong. I don't think I can open up a business with a bus or the van and start transporting people back and forth. You're not a cab license. If you're gonna do the busing system, Greyhound still has a contract between the two highways. But something like that, if we support it, there's people that need to get to the airport, check it out.
Did you want to make a motion?
I'll make a recommendation that we send a letter of support for the adoption of collective ride sharing regulation in the province.
Second for that. Councilor Tralka. More discussion on it? All in favor? 6.7, Canoe McCall, thank you, and 2017 overview. Information and discussion. Casey?
We'll move for discussion, Your Worship.
Go ahead, Councilor Casey.
Just the request here that they mentioned that they'd be interested in coming, if we're interested kind of thing, to have them appear as a delegation, that'd be a good idea to get an update from
Yeah.
Mr. Bartkowski, and I think it'd be an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
So I would so move, we extend that invitation if that,
Seconder for that, Councilor Kai. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? Stars, temporary landing zone. Discussion. Councilor Hope.
Discussion.
Seconder?
Yeah, they talked about in their letter here about trying to register or certify us with Transport Canada. I know that, I doubt that Mr. Wall would have any idea what that would cost or take, but is that something that we should be looking into, do you think, or is that do we have to get a cost on that to do that type of work, or would STARS provide that? You have any idea? No idea? Okay.
We've had stars here, but not that long. Maybe we could send them a letter. And ask.
Probably be easiest to have a conversation with them.
Thank you. And they also mentioned that like, there's evidence of land being cleared for potential development. I think they don't understand that we did the big center. I don't know what we have planned for over there. I think that's one of their concerns too in regards to if we're gonna be doing anything more over there, there might become an issue for landing a shopper there in regards to their regulations. So that's why they're talking about registration and certification. So I'm not sure what the plan is over there. I mean, we're talking about a walking path and walking trails. There was talk about building something in behind the big center and stuff like that. So I think that has to be looked at too, because we're looking at doing some kind of development there that will hinder their landing.
And like, I don't think they can land there today. Like, I drove by there the other day and that's where we're using to pile all our snow right now. I mean, summertime they can land there, but, you know, we're gonna make a decision that place needs to be open. I think you and I had a discussion about they could land right in the intersection out there if they had to, if it wasn't you and I, or maybe it was the guy with Stars had that conversation, but I don't know, I just think it's something that maybe we need to designate it as a helicopter landing zone, and I don't know if it has to be through Transport Canada or what, but we talk about trying to do things to improve our medical system. This is one small thing that we can do to maybe just improve that pad to make sure that it's clear of snow, maybe it's lighted, or I don't know what they need there, but right now it doesn't look like a great spot to land a Stars helicopter.
So just on it, I mean, I just want to commend the staff, like Mr. Beal and his staff. So when we do have to land a chopper, I mean, I'm not sure what it looks like today, but I know when you land a chopper, it doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m. Public Works is there immediately clearing snow, do whatever they have to do to have that chopper land there. But I have been involved in Alberta when we talk about landing pads, and you know, Fort St. John didn't put one on the new hospital, and they have to land out at the airport. It's expensive, probably $500,000. Proper pad and everything else for proper lighting. I'm not sure that's probably for certification, maybe not the registration. But I do want to make sure that, you know, council does know that, you know, when we do have to land a chopper, the staff's amazing when getting the snow cleared off there. clear snow off, and then the fire department's always there to line them with lights, just in case you're unaware.
Anything else on that?
No motion there on that, no direction, right?
Do you need direction to?
I'm gonna be talking to Stars and I'll see what comes out of it, and if there's something worth bringing back to council, I will. But if council wants to provide different direction, I should, yes.
I think if you talk to them and come back to council, that's what they need. I think council wants to make sure that's open and ready for helicopters. Okay. 6.9, Bentley, strategy leadership solutions, information for first hour discussion.
I need for information.
Information. Kirby, seconder, all in favor? Opposed? Did I miss one?
Just, no, I just want to have the discussion about it there for a second.
You wanna talk about it?
Yep.
No,
gone? Missed
Yeah.
it? Okay.
Yeah, is it very-
Oh, I just want to make sure that we've booked her to come for the new council. That's,
Coming up
I
with
think,
a-
I think,
That's something different.
fair enough.
yeah, make sure. Okay, new bylaws, takes us to new business, which is, capital budget report. And there's, 5 different recommendations there, and I guess we handle them one at a time. Okay.
Thank you, Worship. Actually, I'm not gonna make a recommendation. I'm not sure if we wait, if, obviously if we're reading one at a time, or wait until that one comes up and split them.
But you can let council know what you're planning to do.
Yeah, so just a heads up, when it comes up to, Schedule C, Schedule D, I will be asking to split certain things out of there, ID. To take certain ones, so like in C, I wanna see the pre-election board workshop come out, then you voted on its own. And then so on and some other ones.
Okay, so we'll go with Schedule A first, and then we'll get to those.
Yep.
Councilor Hopper.
So just a question before we get started, if there are certain ones that we're not comfortable with in the schedule, how is the process going to work? Should somebody speak up before we approve the motion, or before we put the motion on the floor, or how are we gonna do this?
Mr. Wall.
You guys forgot. Yeah, that's twice. So it depends on why you want to take it out. If it's a conflict of interest issue, right away you can say, I'd like this to be separated. If it's an issue that you just don't support that specific project, allow the motion to be made, put a motion to have it removed from the schedule, pass that, and then move on.
So
That's what I
allow
would
the motion
recommend.
to be made for all the stuff in A. for-
Yeah.
Okay, and then
Then you just pass an amending motion saying,
I'd like to remove this one.
remove project X, and then the
Okay.
amending motion passes or fails.
Okay. Okay, you might have to walk me through this, so.
I'm,
Yeah, we'll put the motion on the floor, get a seconder, and
Yep.
then come up for
Okay,
discussion,
gotcha.
that'll be the time. Okay, motion for, Councilor Kirby.
The council approves the capital and special projects contained in Schedule A.
Okay. Discussion. Mr. Hopper.
So, TRIP environmental assessment,
That's the large industrial mess that the district inherited in the 2015 tax sale.
I'm not comfortable with us spending $60,000 to clean that up. At this point, I don't understand why the people
The proponent that owned the property is not looked into to clean it up.
why do we have to clean up something that belongs to someone else?
Speaking of it. It's because we own it now in regards to tax sale. We didn't pay the taxes, nobody wanted to buy it, but we own it. It's ours.
So there's no legal recourse for us to go back to that person or company and ask them to.
Mr. Wall?
Not really, no. It's,
Contacted our lawyers about that?
yeah, it's ours now. It's brownfield mitigation. It's quite common that municipalities are getting stuck with these now. The cost recovery is something that we work with on the lawyers on property, but this is starting to become more and more common across municipalities where they're taking on these items.
So with that being said, should one of these
Industrial coal mines shut down,
and they go bankrupt,
you get stuck with the mine, you get stuck with the reclamation and cleanup of the mines.
Yes. And it's happened not with mines, but Prince Rupert had that happen with one of their canneries. It cost the city, I think, $2 million to have to deal with it, and that was back in the 90s. It's an issue. There's funds out there, brownfield management funds, that you can dip into from the federal government and the province. If if a mine went under, I think that's something where the district goes to the province and say, we don't have the ability to deal with this. You guys need to take it off our plate. But no, it would be the district who would own it through tax sale.
Is there any way for us to get insurance against that or protect ourselves against that? That's quite the extent liability to the district, right?
I'm unaware if there's insurance for something like that. I've never heard of it. It's something I could look into.
To me,
Are you aware
looking
of
at this
anything
one
like
is a relatively small one. I mean, it is $60,000 compared to a cleanup of a mine site, but we don't know what we're getting into there. To me, this is a good opportunity for us to look at ways to utilize funds from the government or whoever else to clean it up. I don't think the taxpayer should be left footing the bill on this one. I'm not comfortable with it being left in there. Just to say, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're just going to clean it up. It's only going to cost $60,000. So, in the job that I'm in, we had an oil spill, and we had to clean up. It was 20 liters of oil hit the ground in the area where it hit the ground. It was on dirt. We had to dig the dirt up, repack it, and haul this to disposal. And our total bill for the reclamation of that was $25,000 for disposal. Bring the correct material in, the correct packing. So, to me, $60,000. We have no idea what we're walking into up there. Start cleaning that up if there's, I don't know, TCBs or some other oil contaminations up there. I'm not comfortable just saying, yeah, let's clean it up for $60,000 without some more discussion and some more information and background history on that.
I agree with you on one area, and that's, we shouldn't have to do this, but we do. And I've walked through there with Mr. Wall. And my bet is that $60,000 ain't gonna touch it. But we gotta start somewhere, and I think I would vote to leave it in here because we gotta start. It'll be a start, and it'll give us, let us know where we're at with that. And it's ours. It's a sad thing about it.
and there's no way we can just sell it and pass the liability on to somebody else?
We couldn't put it up for auction and say, you buy it for $1,000, she's yours.
We would be responsible for any undisclosed.
Disclose it.
We don't know what it is.
That's what the $60,000 is doing. I think we gotta do it, and even if we wanna sell it, we gotta do it.
Just doesn't make sense to me.
Councilor McKay?
Yeah, the UNBC workshop on brownfield properties, that's exactly what we talked about. It's ours, and I'm not gonna say criminal, but I mean, for us to pass that on to someone else, I don't think we can do that. We're stuck with the bill, and it could be worse. It could be like our next door neighbors in Alberta where they're stuck with abandoned wells. We're talking billions and billions, but
But what if there is somebody that
Wants to take it on. What if you think you're
getting
getting
a really good deal on the land? I mean, the land out there's worth $100,000 a lot.
What if you think you're
Getting
getting
a good deal for 10, and
you're gonna do the cleanup yourself?
for 60 and make 30 grand on the lot? Is it not worth looking down that avenue to save ourselves?
Ourselves $50,000, $60,000, maybe even make $10,000 off it.
I think we have to be in a position that we can tell them what's there before we can even sell it. I mean, I'm going by, say, the Shell over here. I tried to buy the Shell one time, and they gotta disclose everything,
That's right.
and that's why you couldn't buy it, because the bank would lend you money on something that could be contaminated.
For sure, and I agree with you. Like, I had to do phase one on the property that I brought from, I had to buy it from the district of Tumble Ridge when I bought my land. And I had to do my own environmental assessment on it, not the district of Tumble Ridge. I did the environmental assessment on it. So that I had what's called a baseline indication of what is there. So that if I was to contaminate anything beyond what was already there, then I'm responsible for the cleanup of it. So, to me, I think it deserves a little more discussion before we just decide that we are gonna take it on for 60,000. And like you just said yourself, I think 60,000 isn't even gonna touch it. And then we get into $100,000. Now we've decided to do a $100,000 cleanup for something that could we possibly sell it for 10,000? Is there any way of doing that? And disclosing, like, we're not sure what's on there, but we wanna sell it for this. There may be people that,
What if a cleanup company wants to buy it?
you know, we don't know, vac truck company or something.
You wanna make a motion
To remove it?
to, motion to remove it from this?
Sure,
So that'd be an amendment?
And then we vote on that amendment.
Yeah, and then the other motion.
Okay, I'd like to make, put an amendment forward that we remove
The TRIP environmental assessment.
from Schedule A.
Need a seconder for that? Councilor Crocett? Any more discussion on it? On the amendment, all in favor of removing it from Schedule A? Opposed? I don't know.
Carried.
So that's removed, so now with, so we're talking about the motion without the trip. So, any more discussion on it? Councilor Algonquin?
Thank you, Your Worship. Not an issue, I just want some clarity on it. So their road traffic control information on Willow and Mackenzie, that was hit by a drunk driver and repaired. Surprised we wouldn't have replaced it then. I couldn't.
We might have been able to, it might have been insurance. Insurance might have not paid for a new one and they would have paid for the old one. I'd have to take a look at that. I'm not aware at the moment.
I know it was quite a bit of damage and there was quite a, just,
Or the control box might have been okay. I'm not sure.
yeah, just clarity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Kirby?
Thank you, Your Worship. Regarding the fencing of Trip Lagoon, will it be possible to salvage any of the fencing that will be replaced?
There is currently no fencing and that's why we need to
Okay.
install fencing.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. Guess we can't save something on
Try it.
that. Yeah.
Regarding the replacement of the TRE playground. So I talked to Mr. Wall today and he was gonna look into this. I don't know if he's found the information yet, but, it says the playground has failed its
Most recent safety inspection and needs to be removed.
And I asked Mr. Wall to see the safety inspection. The safety inspection we do on this equipment is done by someone in-house. We have somebody who's a certified playground inspector. And I'd just like this, before we decide to spend $200,000 on replacing the playground, I would like to see the report on it. So I would like that one removed until we see the report on it.
Make another amendment?
Yeah, if we,
We don't have any discussion on it.
We will. Seconder? Councilor Johnson? Discussion?
So. We got cut. Be quick.
Yep.
Is it all the equipment at TRE? And it's just what we own, right? So, no disrespect to Councillor Howell, but it is not my job to overview what staff's reports are. To me, if staff's coming back and saying they've had it inspected in-house, out-of-house, and saying it needs to be replaced, I think you gotta almost, yes, again, you gotta trust the report that's coming back to CEO that's coming to us. That's just my opinion. I mean, I'm definitely not a thing. I know we had some huge issues in regards to all the playgrounds at Tumble Ridge, and I'm not sure where the town sits on the replacement of it. But, I mean, the amount of children that do go to that facility to use it, and if it's unsafe, I think it's something that we can't wait. I mean, if we wait, they're just gonna tear it out, and there'll be nothing there. Because they're gonna tear it down if it's situated unsafe by whoever inspected it.
So again, when this is the first time
It hits us, first time hits the floor. I'm not comfortable spending $200,000 till we've had some discussion or thought or process into it. That's what we're here for. We're in these chairs. I agree with you. If there's something unsafe, if there's a nail sticking out of something or a slide is ripped up or something like that, it should already be removed. There shouldn't be a question of, oh, we need to make the decision in budget and then carry forward 9 months and then we're gonna remove it. If it's unsafe, it should be removed right now, or fixed or repaired. And maybe that's the case, I don't know, that's why I'm asking, if there are things that can be fixed and repaired for a smaller amount, then that's partly what I wanna know, is where are we at with the playground, right? And, also, I wasn't even aware that we owned the playground at TRP, I thought that belonged to the school board or the district, or sorry, the school district. I wasn't aware that this was something that was there's two there. Do they own one and we own one?
Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had a discussion with the principal of TRE, and she told me that she had sat down with Mr. Beal and they talked about the playground that the district owns and all the things that were needing to be replaced. And they sat down, they looked at equipment. They agreed on what was going to be replaced, and I have no problem with what is on the agenda here in this budget moving forward. Seems to all.
See, that's like information that we don't have
Yeah.
though, right? You got that
Yeah.
information, we don't have it. If that information is shared with council, perhaps this is an easier process.
Yeah, so just again, I guess on that, you know, I guess somewhat I kind of agree with what you're saying. Like, first time you see it, I know we budgeted 5-year plan, and I believe, I mean, I don't have mine's at home because I was looking at it, but you know, there was some equipment put through for year after year after year. $200,000. Just to be aware, I was part of the flatbed playground, and that was $70,000. So if we're getting a $200,000 playground,
That's what I'm saying.
it should be pretty massive because the one down at Flatbed's worth, I think it came in at 70 grand.
Okay. Councillor Guy.
Yeah, I think, I think there are some items over there that do need to be replaced. I had the same conversation, and again, if that's a report from staff, I'm okay with it. The one thing though that I'm a little bit, I know that's our property, but it's definitely used by the school more than anyone else. They're pretty well the 100% users of it. Is School District 59. I know that PAC, as before, has put money into playgrounds, but what about School District 59 themselves? Are they willing to put some money into this? Because just by saying it's not our property, I don't think that negates them from putting a facility right there for School District 59 students. Is that, and I don't want to make this a cumbersome thing, but is that a conversation we should have with them prior to okaying this particular item in the budget?
So the amendment is to remove that from this schedule, right?
At this time, I mean, we could bring it back in if we get more information, but at this time.
So, on the amendment, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, so, we got that one removed. Anything else on Schedule 8? Okay, all the question on Schedule 8 with the 2 amendments done. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, Schedule B, the recommendation.
Council approves the capital and the special projects contained in Schedule B.
Seconder. Kirby? Discussion?
Just in regards to conflict, wonder if we can just put this aside, so not remove it, but if I can leave the room when you guys want it, it'd be the golf course replacement items. And that's in regards to the restaurant, looks like to me. So it'd be a conflict, so I'm just asking if we can just put the Schedule B1, if you wanna number it, but it's
You're not involved there
3,
right
4,
now,
5,
right?
6.
It's coming up for,
touche, but to me, I'm still involved in it, and to me, it's
So with that request, council has separated out, so now you're discussing Schedule B with everything except the golf course replacement items, which can be moved to Schedule B1, or it'll just be its own item with its name, so.
Okay, you wanna I need a motion to move them out?
No, right now you're discussing Schedule B minus golf course replacement items.
Okay. Okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion on Schedule B? Councilor Howard?
The rec center tables, chairs, stage and stage curtains. So I've attended a few events where actually I've seen those chairs failing, and I've seen the tables failing for heavier set fellas sitting in them. But needless to say, those are not that old. I just want to make sure that staff has, you know, researched some better chairs. I mean, the original chairs that we had in the rec center, those plastic ones that used to stack with the metal frames on them. I mean, we had those there at the rec center from when I was a kid, and they're still floating around the rec center. They're still good chairs. They still work and do their thing. But the ones that we went to, these black folding ones, they haven't been strong and they haven't been very good. They fall apart. I just want to make sure that we are getting stuff that's not going to be replaced again in 2 or 3 years. Have we looked into that thoroughly to make sure that it's good quality equipment?
We are going with stackable chairs again. We don't have the space for those old tile stuff that don't fold in, so we need to get stackable chairs. You know, the ones that are solid metal are going to last longer, that's for sure. But the amount of chairs we need in the community center, along with the amount of tables that we need, no place to put them.
So you're going with folding ones again then?
And that's mainly because there's no room to store the other ones.
That's right.
Do you have any idea of how long those ones lasted for?
I don't.
Okay. Just,
Anything else on Schedule B? So, we'll call the question on Schedule B minus the golf course stuff. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, we'll keep going with the golf course. I guess we need a motion for B1. Councilor Howard?
motion forward to include the replacement and repairs of items identified by the previous operator, including a new dishwasher and repairs to the barbecue. Schedule B1.
Also, the painting and drywall. There's the one right below it.
Yeah, if that one was removed too, then that one as well. I didn't think that one was removed, I don't know.
I had that removed because it gives it golf
Okay.
course. Okay. Seconder for that? Councilor Kirby, discussion on them? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Okay. I don't know if anybody wanted a break before we go to Schedule C. If everybody's okay, we'll continue. Okay, Schedule C. The recommendation, Councilor Mackay.
Recommend the council approve the capital and special projects contained in Schedule C.
Seconder. Councilor Parker. Discussion.
It was actually previously in our agenda, from Christine Betty in regards to the pre-election workshop. I'd like to remove that, make a motion to remove that.
Where's that at?
That was, it's on the first page, fifth one down from 12,000. And it was in our agenda earlier that we just went to information on.
So that's a motion. Amendment.
Wherever it is.
Seconder for that? To remove that?
I'll second it.
Okay, Councilor Howard. Discussion on removing that. Councilor Howard?
So I just, maybe I'm missing something on this, Councilor Krikoka. I think this is a good thing.
This is for people that are interested in becoming counselors, and maybe I'm missing
Why you'd want to remove that from budget.
Yeah, so I want to remove it, and it came up to me, when it came up in here, everybody just sent the information. So curiosity, throw it out on the board or remove it, I have no issues with it, actually, it's a great idea. But when everybody sent the information, nobody discussed it in the regular meeting. And then to me, when taxpayers see it, they don't understand that, we didn't even discuss it. It was in our regular agenda.
Okay.
So I wasn't sure, maybe people missed it in their agenda when they went through it today. And, to me, when you're spending $12,000, I have no issue, I think it's a great thing. I mean, too bad we didn't have this when I decided to run. So if there's anything new running, so that's why I threw it out there. Kinda gets the talk going there.
Okay.
Because, like you made a comment, Councillor Howell, in regards to making sure it was set up for the next council coming in. So I thought maybe you didn't understand what that part was, so I thought, throw it out there. Discussion for,
Okay.
makes sense. Because I think it's a great thing, maybe it's gonna become a run again.
So what you're saying is this is a pre-election board workshop. This is for those that are interested in running for council.
Correct.
This is not the one that we had discussed, which is for when people get voted into council,
Correct.
to have a discussion
Because
of
that's governance training,
governance.
after they're not to do.
Says pre-election right now. And I think it's a great thing, and I think it should be left in there. Any other discussion on it?
So as it stands, your worship, it's in. Right.
Well, we're gonna vote on whether we take it out or not.
Oh, I see, okay.
Are you putting a motion to take it out?
I already did.
Oh, okay,
Your
sorry.
second. I just did it because it's to see if everybody would buy it, so I was
Okay.
curious.
Okay, the amendment is to take it out. All in favor of that? Opposed? Okay. So, back to Schedule C. Anything else? Council Howell?
So the entrance and wayfinding number is now $410,000 in the budget. And I thought we were somewhere in that $75,000 range multiplied by 3. And we
We're
we're
just under $250,000.
and I assume this is because we're paying $75,000 for each of the signs, and this is the work up to do the groundwork and the prep work for it as well. The concrete work or dirt work or something.
Well, thank you, your worship. So this number includes that, but it also includes 4 signs that council was talking about, and it also includes the add-ons of having a windmill at all of them and all this other stuff you're talking about. As it states in the last sentence there, budget to be defined by council signage choices. So once we know what we're talking about, hopefully at the end of this meeting, how many signs, where we're gonna put them, what are the add-ons, and what are the materials, that number's going to change.
So would it not be smarter for us to remove this at this point in the budget discussions, then add it back in after our discussions are done when we talk about the signs? Would it not be a smarter time to put it in then? Rather than us deciding, yeah, we're willing to spend $410,000 now, and then we get further into the discussion later on in the meeting, and we say, no, we're not comfortable spending that amount of money. We've already approved $410,000. So then we gotta go back and disapprove it.
So, no, you're in council tonight, you're not approving anything. You're just approving that it gets forwarded to the final budget document, and if you make further motions on those items, later on, it'll change what that is. You don't need to go back and change any of your motions, the budget will change, that's fine. The reason it's in here, and I understand what you're saying, but the reason it's in here is that I wanted council to get as total of a look as possible on what your capital project costs are going to be this year, and this is a big item. So if I remove that out and you take a look, okay, we're spending $5 million in capital this year. No, you're spending 5 plus 3, and here's this other project, and before you know it, you're at
Gotcha.
$7 million in Jordan budget.
Gotcha. Understand.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor of Schedule C? Opposed? Okay, Schedule D.
Council approves capital and special projects contained in Schedule D.
Seconder, Councilor Kirby. Discussion. Councilor Fairclough.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment that we remove the interpretive trailer stuff.
Seconder. Councilor Howell. Discussion on the amendment. Councilor McKay.
And that doesn't mean that it can't be brought up at another time? by, why would you wanna do that? I just maybe just asked the question.
Yeah, well, we have it slated for a P and P February 13th. That was what was added tonight. In our discussion earlier there when we added it to that February 13th P and P.
But the way I see it, it's the same as what you just said. It's here. We can discuss it, and we can come up with any changes to it that we want to do. But this, I guess if you vote for it, if you want an interpretive trail. If you're for interpretive trail, in some manner, we can decide what manner that is in.
Well, and that's, I guess, if I may, just like right underneath that, there becomes the recreational master plan. And it talks about the trails, walking path, mulch trails, municipal fish pond, all that. Like, to me, that's why I say we're putting the horse before the cart. It's cart before the horse. That's my concern there. Another $85,000 to do a thing, but then we're gonna also pre-build a trail, but then do the master plan after the trail's built, or in the middle of it.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I think the question was already answered by Mr. Wall before, because, I mean, really, that was my initial thoughts, was to remove it. But because it can't be removed from budgetary item, because the district has to account for it, account for it, regardless of who pays for it. I mean, you can't just take it off the docket, and maybe I'll stand to be corrected on that, but if that's the case back when we first started talking about this, I mean, I think it's those lines right now. So I'm not so.
So if we've got a grant for 250,000 or whatever it is, I'd like to see that spent on some kind of trail. Know exactly what kind of trail and who pays the other 170. That remains up in the air, but I'm for it.
No, I can be swayed to support $250,000 that somebody else is providing for us, but again, this is in our budget, this is our money, this is not the community forest money, it's in our budget, not their budget. This is our money we're spending, and it's a portion of that grant included in it. So to me, this, until we have the information that we're gonna get back from the February 13th meeting to clear up some of these things, to find out a little bit more information about the teachers and the this and the that we're gonna utilize this, then I don't think we should have this added. There is no reason why we cannot add this in February 14th, or we could add this February 19th at the next meeting and bring it back in. But when we don't have clear ideas on what we're spending this money on, why would we go ahead and approve it at this point? It gives the wrong direction and the wrong idea that we are going ahead with it without knowing the full impacts of what we're doing over there.
The reason I vote to leave this in is I support the interpretive trail, and if we have to pay for it, we've already had that discussion in council and approved it. That's why we went for the grant. So I support the interpretive trail, so that's the way I'm voting. Anybody else?
Just when we have a discussion in here to go for a grant, that doesn't mean if we get the grant, we're all in.
We had a discussion to apply for a grant,
which none of us had an issue with. I don't have an issue with anybody applying for a grant. When they get it, that's when the real discussion begins. Then they say, and you have to add $175,000, and you have to take that land over there, and now all the people that utilize it for maybe the snowboarding or whatever, people that are doing whatever there, you can never use that again because there's an interpretive trail there. That's where the discussion has to start. We now know that $250,000
is coming from the government to do it.
fantastic.
That's a great way to lead into the right way.
But doesn't mean because we got the grant, we have to go ahead and do it. We don't have to go ahead and spend $175,000 just because we got a grant. You know, that to me is ridiculous. That's part of the reason why the government gives you grants, is that you spend your money.
Councilor Kai?
Then why don't we just use the exact same logic we use for the signage around town? We don't know what we're doing with it yet. There could be add-ons, there could be things we're taking off. The same logic would apply here.
How does the same logic apply for that?
Same thing.
There's still planning to be done. We're not sure what the end result's gonna be.
We agreed on the signs.
We didn't agree on an interpretive trail.
We agreed on applying for loan.
Apply for a grant.
We had a grant that we had to put a certain percentage in to get that grant. So I had that in my mind when I voted to apply for the grant.
So that anytime a grant,
I don't see what's changed.
so anytime a grant proposal comes in front of us, we should automatically think, we don't care that we approve it or not, we've got to get the grant.
Councilor Kirby?
A point of order?
I'll call the question. All in favor of removing that interpretive trail from the,
So, your worship, I just want to slow something down here. Councillor Kirby's called a point of order.
Okay.
And I imagine she has a reason why she's called that point of order. And so she will tell you in the new rule on the point of order before you get to calling the question.
okay, we haven't done this very much. What is your point of order?
Thank you, your worship. I am getting confused at where this direction was going. We've got people talking out of turn, councillors. When we applied for the grant, my question was there a time frame on that grant when we were supposed to be starting on an interpretive trail? When we got the grant?
Yeah, we need to, if we want to keep the grant funding, we need to do it this year. We could apply for a delay, like we could apply to have it done next year, but there's no guarantees. When you apply for these grants, they expect you within a certain time, and you usually have to have a good reason. For example, the aeration, we were able to go back to them and said, we did all of the work that we were supposed to. We sent out our RFP. We just couldn't get a successful proponent back. And the reason they do this from the federal and provincial governments is that these loan contributions are debts to them that they have to record on their books. And their debt ratio is something that the government takes very seriously. Getting off topic here, but the decision on Site C, a lot of it was because if they made that decision, all of those loans got moved onto their bad debts. So I just want to let council know, if you decide to or want to ask to delay the project and you don't have a reason, like we couldn't find somebody to do the work, there's a good chance it disappears.
Okay, so, point of order, where do I stand to that?
So the point of order was really Councillor Kirby saying that you're not doing the proper direction. You weren't getting people to speak in turn, so you would say, okay, I've made a mistake and move on.
I apologize. Okay, I'll call the question on the amendment. All in favor of removing the interpretive trail from Schedule D? Opposed? It stays in there. Okay, any more discussion on Schedule D?
Yeah, maybe you can give me some clarification, your worship. So we're looking at interpretive trail, which is all good and dandy, then right below it's recreation master plan. If you could just fill me in when the concept is on that one. It talks about experience on this includes items such as increased walking paths, mulch trails, municipal fish ponds, or items identified by the successful proponent. So if you can explain that to me just a little bit, just because to me we've left something in, we haven't done a plan.
We have
So I'm just,
we've tried to have the recreation master plan done before. This is the second or third time we brought it to the budget, and it's never made it through, so that's why we don't have one. I think it would include the interpretive trail, and it would include the walking trails if we had one. And that's why I think it's a good idea to have one. Any other discussion on it? Okay, all in favor of Schedule D? Opposed? Okay, Schedule E. Recommendation?
I believe that Councillor Kokoka wants to separate out one of these. Did you do that before?
the, so again, conflict of interest would be the water meter, third one down.
Okay. So we will talk about that one later. That'll be E1, I guess. Okay, can I get a recommendation on the rest of it?
Council approves capital special projects continued in Schedule E.
Seconder? Ready? Discussion.
So, apologize to Mr. Wall, if you can just go over the public works building, when I was in to see this morning, it was when I marked and missed it. It's just in how it's carryover from last year, and is that the 10,000 we're talking about carryover from last year?
Yes. So we had planned to have developed the RFP for everything and had it sent out last year, but given the drastic changes in the building facades, council decided that we should go to a public input period, and that's what we'll be doing this year. So the goal is, in fairly short order, to have a community meeting about these buildings to show the community what they want. Based on that feedback, council will say, okay, that's great, let's move forward. No, we need to make these changes, and then we'll make the changes, go along, and then by the time we get to some point this year, develop the RFP, send it out, and then the decision to construct would be for the next council.
Anything else on that? All in favor of Schedule D minus the water metering? Okay, we'll do D1. Guess I need a motion on that. Drew,
That council approves the capital special projects contained in Schedule E1.
seconder?
Nope. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Okay, discussion. Well,
I'll be voting opposed to this again, as I have every time that it comes forward on budget. I think us going after monitoring people's water puts us in a potential for legal consequences. For that reason, I don't think we should be going after water monitoring in District of Tumbler Ridge. It's a bait and switch tactic to get businesses in here, which we did, and now we're gonna charge them for the water, which they initially didn't have to. So, won't be voting in favor of it.
okay.
I think water metering has got a lot of different uses, and whether you agree to, or whether you want to charge or not for water, I mean, I think that's every council's prerogative. And but the thing I'm interested in, and I never really thought about it until we had a meeting with the actually Tom Dahl was the guy who brought it up at Telqua, where they metered their area, their town, and they found out that they're not interested in charging, but what they did find out is the amount of water they were actually losing, which was treated water, which was to a great percent, more than 33% of their water was going down the drain, and they didn't realize it until they actually metered the water. And if down the road, if we have some industry that comes in here that's using an abnormal amount of water, then that's an option too. But right now, my main concern is to know where our water is, and we're getting the full potential of what we're actually treating.
And does that do that?
By putting water meters on,
Just the businesses in town that will tell us that we're losing water in the residential area?
Well, they knew how much they knew how much was leaving the filtration system, and they knew, and yeah, so they had a way of identifying precisely just how much water was actually. And when they did the test, they did find major leaks.
Anything else? Okay, on the water metering, all in favor of, all in favor of it?
Removing it, or
Leaving, paying the $20,000. All in favor?
in favor?
Opposed? Okay. Okay, 8.2, replacing Rockland Tumbler Ridge entrance signs. Do you have a recommendation there? Harvey, tourism group voted a different type of sign than CMS Council was talking about. Can you give us the reasons or?
You know, everybody, it's a personal choice. That seemed to be the overall opinion of the tax committee, was that they liked the sign option. What is it, two? Two. I think mostly their concern was, or their suggestion was to take the tagline out, which I agree with that. I think that point is a plus. I don't think they need that, the home of or the heart of. I like it about that. But yeah, they like number 2. And also my preference also is I like the wood myself. I think it really matches what we've got going on with our community center and the Vic Center. But as far as, I think they're both beautiful signs. I think it's just gonna come down to council, what the flavor of council is on this one.
I thought option 2 was supposed to be significantly cheaper than option 3. That was part of the reason why I was usually swayed towards option 2. And now in this final report, or not final, whatever report this is now, we're showing almost just over $71,000 for option 2 per sign, and the other one is $77,000. So the cost was $78,000, almost $79,000 per sign. Why the change? Is there any reason why it went up so much from the initial estimates were what, 35, 50, and
75,000.
Well, do you have an answer to that?
I'm just looking through here. I tried to put all of the different reports on here so we could see all of them. Where are you finding that cost for sign 2, Councillor Howe?
right there, whatever page that is. It says $43,000 to $58,000.
On page, what page is it?
It's stapled, so page 51, 50.
Page 50. It is stapled. 50. Okay, so that's right, that was the original cost of sign 2, and you found a different cost for sign 2.
Yeah, so that the original cost on this one was 43 to 58,000, and then the bigger stand-up one was 60 to 77,000.
Yeah.
Now in this concept design
On page 43.
on page 38,
Yes.
38,
Yep.
it says 71,000.
I'll have to take a look.
It's a lot closer now to what the big, large monument one is, right?
Yeah.
Like the cost went up on it quite a bit.
Part of the
Initial discussion was, I could be swayed more towards option 2 because it was a more inexpensive way to do these signage. Now it's very close to the same cost.
Yeah, neither of us are sure. We'll have to check with Concept on why that is. I don't know. Because the cost for sign 3, I don't think is very, very much, has it? I think
No.
it's
a
a
little
small
higher.
increase on sign 3 and a big increase on sign 2. So I am not sure why that would be. We'll have to check with Concept, and we can get back to council on that as soon as possible.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Yeah, I'll be happy with any sign, but when I received my package, and of course, I'm in the grocery store, so today I went around the aisles up and down, talked to about 60 people today. 49 of them picked the big monument sign. A couple were on the side, and I got 4 people like the concept number 2. Myself, I'm a big fan of the bigger sign. I mean, I think it's it's something that definitely will stick out coming into our community. It represents our community, and I think you would be proud to stand there and take a picture. To me, concept 2 reminds me of, and I think it was through the trip committee too, as they said that they like concept 2 because it was like the national parks and all that. We're not a national park, So it is, it does look like a Jasper Park sign or going through Banff. And I think we're different than them. I mean, we're better. And I like that big sign. I don't know how I'm gonna decide. I would put a motion on the floor that, we look at concept 3 as the, sign to pick.
Seconder, Mr. Howard? Seconder,
It's not,
third Councilor Kirby. More discussion on this, on the motion. Councilor Howard.
Well, if you want the big one, you should select design option 2, because design option 2 is 22 feet high, whereas the second option is only 18.4 feet high.
So if you want the really big one, that's option 2.
Not the giant gravestone.
it's not the height, it's also the length of it.
Okay, well, let's do the length. This one's 19 feet, and this one is overall 10.5 feet.
Okay.
I mean, there was talk that, you know, the monument sign did look like a grain elevator. And me being from Saskatchewan, I'm kind of liking it, but, you know, there's also we also had the discussion of having different signs, you know, having one at, you know, one here like this and two, you know, so we have the option, having, you know, splitting them up. My, where I want to talk about is the wood and steel. Now, I was informed that there's not like at first, it was supposed to be a lot more expensive to have the wood signs, so that was kind of something that we were discussing, but now, am I correct that that's not the case? That the wood signs are more expensive to maintain? Upkeep?
Mr. Wall?
The maintenance isn't gonna be that much different. If you use the wood, you use the proper, good quality wood, treated wood, it'll last for a long time. With the steel, you've got to coat it. If you get scratches on it and stuff like that, you need to make sure that you repair it so you don't get rust. But the maintenance of the signs going to wood or steel, you're not going to find a big difference. The rest of the signs, parts of the sign will come down and fall apart before those parts of it do, right? That's why we can make buildings with wood as well as steel.
Also regarding the signs, the interchangeable pictures that can go into the signs, that was something that we had talked about, and I'm in favor of having that option on the signs.
Make it more expensive.
I think it might make, I think the cost would be, I'm sure, would go up. Also, just on the tagline, if we don't have a tagline, it's still nice to have welcome or thank you for coming or come again on the back.
And I don't think you have to stop at the signs. There's you can maybe do a little more work around in landscaping, and that's why I like option number 2. That you could probably put flower gardens, some bushes and that type of thing, and it would probably suit it pretty well. So.
I like option number 3, and the main reason is, Councilor Pickup has already mentioned, I think people stop to do that. I'm not sure they stop to do that. Yeah, anyway, you know, and it's another thing that, where these things are gonna go, I guess we haven't discussed that yet, but, it's sure not gonna go where the signs are right now. There's not much room. I can see. Councilor Tree.
I would be in favor of one sign being option 3, but I would pick design 2 overall if I had the choice, if we were going with the one sign throughout.
So is there any truth to what Councillor Kirby assumes is that we could get 3 individual signs? Or in manufacturing process, normally if you build 3 of the same thing, you get them cheaper, right? So if we're building 3 separate signs, per se, can we still get the same price on them that they're giving them to us for individually?
I would have to check. They didn't specify that you need to build 3 or 4 or 2 or 1. For all they know, we were only gonna choose to go with one of these signs.
Okay.
So, I don't think there would be a price difference, but if there is, I'd get back to council on that.
I guess, I mean, that may be a quick way to solve an argument here or discussion. I mean, 3 or 4 like this one, 3 or 4 like that one. Go get that one, you get this one, and you throw it up for the last one, so.
But another thing
With that, too, I still think that we should be approaching, Tech, Benuma, Anglo-American, and the other Colonial Coal, maybe any of the coal mines that are in the area or proposed to come to HD, anyone we can get a hold of and say, this is what we're thinking about doing. Would you be interested in providing some funding towards this sign? Because our intention is to put a large steel beam in it to represent the steel and the coal mining routes that we have. Would you be interested in putting $20,000 towards each sign? Perhaps we could get half the signs paid for by the coal companies. And so what I would like to do is I would like to put a motion forward to say that we contact the mines, all the mines in the area, to ask them that, if they are interested in supporting this sign. And then the second part of that motion is I would also like to put a motion forward that we contact all the wind companies in the area, which are 5 in town now, to ask them if they would be interested in providing whatever means necessary to provide batteries, lights, windmills, solar power, whatever is required to make those things have lights on them, and they provide that portion of it. Let's put that motion on the floor.
There's no motion on the floor now.
Oh, you have a motion on the floor, from Councillor Kukoka that, council chooses design number 3. So that needs to be dealt with before any other motions can come on the floor.
Okay. Any more discussion on design number 2?
In Councillor Kukoka's motion, was it design number 3 in the steel or design number 3 with the wood? And is this for all 3 signs, or is it possible to have it as one sign?
So there was no, I think you gotta, I mean, I'm fine with 1 sign or 2 signs or put them both on the table. And maybe we take the motion on the floor, defeat it, and talk about it. We're looking at doing 3 different signs or 4 different signs first. And then I think, to me, my personal opinion, we pick a sign and not what it's made of, and then decide if we want to go with it. Right? I think that's a total different topic and what we're going to go with. That's just my personal opinion. Like, I mean, we can defeat it, and then if we're thinking of going to 3 different signs or 2 different types of signs instead. I mean, I believe that one of the things that came out of your guys' meeting was they didn't recommend to go with different signs. Right? So, height thing, whatever. I mean, I look at Page, Page's staples are there. It's one of the 3. It's got all 3 different pages in it. It's got the shark fin. It's got an ice climber, and it's got somebody to stand at the top of the mountain much. I mean, I just think it really represents Tom, and that's why I really like 3. I mean, like I said, I surveyed some people that came in the shop and stored it. I mean, I showed them both pictures. I mean, I know we set up here to make that decision, but I mean, it's no different in regards to the interpretation of the rail. There's when that happened on the February 13th, there's other communication there. I mean, I've talked to other people too, and that's why I did this one, right? I mean, I'm not sure what staff likes, but their residents do, right?
No, you guys gotta choose, not us.
I don't know if we want to defeat it, Your Worship, and then talk. If we want to do. I'll let everyone.
Well, we're gonna vote on it. If we have, council wants to have 3, and then go forward. If not, don't want 3 or 3, you don't. And personally, one other way to, this side of town, it's too much. But anyway, any more discussion? Okay, all in favor of motion? You wanna hear the motion?
Yes.
Do we have the motion we read?
It's that council supports design number 3, which is this one.
Okay, in favor? Opposed? Okay. We have another motion. Councilor Kirby, something?
Well, yeah, my motion is to, I don't have one. No, I think, I'm concerned, like, I'd like to know what council's thought is on having 3 of the same signs, or 1 sign, or, just the options. I think if we could be clear on that, then we could maybe have it, then I'd be ready to vote on a sign.
I personally like that idea. I like the idea of 3 signs. So, I like. Anybody else? Councilor Kirby?
So, yeah, I think we were trying to hammer that out
Yeah.
before we were, and I'm gonna go for a motion. I think you definitely need to, like you hit it up coming in from the Core Lodge, I don't think you need a huge sign, maybe we could put, option 2 there. Right, but I do think, the main entrance coming in and the main entrance from Chetwood should be. And there's actually a 4th entrance at Chetwood.
Is that what the 4th one is?
That's where the 4th, welcome to Bridge sign right there.
Councilor Howell?
So design option 1 is the really cheap one. Is that one off the table at this point?
If we're going with 3, I think, I thought one of those, like, that's going towards the Core Lodge. One going towards Chetwynd, one going towards Gloucester.
So what if we did the 2 cheap ones, the one out by Chetwynd that just says this is the direction towards Tumbler Ridge?
$25,000-$35,000, whatever it is.
This one, number 1,
And then we did the same thing on the direction from the Core Lodge.
which is by Flatbed Falls.
And then you do one of the gravestone on whichever side you want to do it on. And then you do the hanging ledge one on the other entrance.
I'd vote for that.
But that means that we bring,
Design option 1 back.
and I don't know if
Is that okay? You?
they're
Okay.
cheaper.
My recommendation would be go for option 3 on the way in from Dawson Creek, and to go with the other 2 on the other entrances.
And nothing by Chetwynd.
The one coming up from Flatbed and the one coming,
No, the one that's in Chetwynd.
I would say that one there is more of a, I wasn't ever considering that one as part of this planning.
It's the same sign as all the other ones we have around. It's the same design. There's the 4
Yeah,
other 3
that's-
other ones.
That wasn't one I was ever considering at this, for this.
Because we may have to change that one. We
Well,
probably do have to change that one as well, right?
That one on the highway, the big one, yeah.
That sign that's out there right now, I think is rented. It's a sign company that's got that up there, so our discussions would have to be with them.
It's actually a permanent sign.
Is that?
It's permanent signs. I'm not sure if it's us that put it in there or who put it in there, but it's not a flag sign that says, walk with the dinosaurs, Tumbler Ridge, BC. It's actually just before you take the turn, Tumbler Ridge.
And I know when it's
And
done,
it's not if it's a rented sign, it's the same material that we have out here. Not sure who put it there.
In Chetwynd. You think
Yeah.
the one in Chetwynd, Don, or the one in?
yeah, the one in Chetwynd, I thought it was rented, but I could be wrong.
I don't know the backstory to that. It's gotta be on somebody's piece of land. If we're renting it, we haven't paid rent on that for a long time, so.
Oh, hang on a second.
But yeah, that's an interesting question on whose land that's even on. If that's the district of Chetwynd and they just allow us to use it, or if it's MOTI and we've gotten approval from MOTI. Either way, that's not an issue if council wants to make that replacement. I mean, that, I would say that one gets the most vision, for sure, if people driving up the highway is that sign, because it's right on the Alaska Highway, right? So what council wants to do with that is your guys' decision.
The route to the Alaska Highway. It's not on the Alaska Highway.
Right.
So I need a motion.
Well, I'll put that motion forward before we get onto the sign. I'll put that motion forward that we contact the coal mines to ask them if they're willing to support the sign. And also put a motion forward to contact the wind power to see if they're willing to supply whatever's batteries and lights and whatever's needed to light up the sign. Or some type of a donation that goes towards that. Maybe they're willing to do 15,000 a sign or 20,000 a sign. Is that clear enough?
I just wanna make sure, so if included in this motion would be the decision to go with the steel designs?
Yes.
So I'm clear, now council's just gotta decide.
Seconder for that?
And it dies and you gotta make a new motion.
A motion on the floor to decide if we're gonna do steel or wood. So I'm gonna go with steel. A motion to make these signs out of steel.
Okay, seconder for that? For deciding whether we're going with steel or wood?
Dies.
So to be honest, the reason I'm not second or even wanting, I like to figure out what we want for signs first, because to me, that's gonna dictate to me which way I wanna go. To me, option 3, and I'm not saying at every entrance, I don't have anything wrong, but to me, I don't think steel looks good though. That makes it look like the grain elevator, like they were saying, I think you do wood on this sign. When you have the sign that overhangs, a steel beam coming out of it, to me is the proper, in my opinion, looks good. In concept too, having a steel structure coming out of there with a sign hanging on it, I think looks great. The steel on the concept 3, I don't think it really shows through on not on the picture. I mean, obviously gotta read into that picture. To me, the wood concept on 3 looks better than the steel. So that's kind of why, I mean, I tried putting a motion on the floor, and I understand, Councilor Kirby, you're kind of wondering which, 3 signs, 2 signs are the same. I think that's good, I think, gonna figure that out. To me, I don't wanna put another motion on the floor and then get defeated, but like, to me, I like the idea of, not the Chatwin Highway 29 coming in, Tom, just past that, but campground. Having option 3, the same as coming in from the Dawson side, option 3. And having option 2 coming in from the Core Lodge. I mean, those are our 2, don't even know people coming in from Highway 52. The Heritage Highway, those 2 there, comp signs, and to me, spaced all over the pictures. I mean, this is something I would, whether it's in Tumber Ridge or another community, I definitely would stop there. Option 2, I as a visitor might not stop at. To me, I see that sign when I go through Banff, and I don't stop there. So I think, before, and then that way you can dictate if you want wood or steel.
Why don't we just take each highway that,
Put a sign there.
and make a motion on each highway. We want this one towards Dawson,
Okay.
we want it built out of wood and whatever. Does that sound?
Yep.
Right, then because right now we're all mixed up which
Okay.
goes where, so I'll entertain a motion on the highway to Dawson.
We put a motion, and we put option 3 on the Highway 29 coming from Dawson. Wood.
Seconder for that? That's Kirby. Any more discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. The highway to Kevin. That's good.
Sorry, but I put a motion in option 3 to use coming in from the channel. Wood.
Seconder? Kirby? Any discussion? Councilor Kirby?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, just to say that those will have the interchangeable pictures in there, that was going to be part of that. And no tagline, with no tagline with home of the Global Geopark, but with that thank you, come again at the back, that was put on some of them.
No, it's
Okay.
So that's not part of the motion, I don't believe, but I think that's something we can add.
No, we can say that after,
Okay.
say this is what we want on each side.
Okay.
Councilor.
Would council be interested in saving $20,000 per sign?
or push forward because we want wood? Just a question to council.
Perhaps the route to do this is to contact the mines and the windmill companies first to see if they're interested in giving us money. If they said, geez, you know what, we'd like to buy the entire sign if you make it out of steel, what way would you go? Would you still go with wood? And maybe the way to do this is to contact them first to find how much money they may be willing to give. If they're not willing to give any money, maybe we've got our answer right there.
I don't like the idea of just, well, let's just spend taxpayers' money without thinking it through. Just spend.
Councilor Chuck.
So just on your last comment about spending taxpayers' money, we don't think about through it. I'll be honest with you, Matt, I've thought about this loss. I went away actually down south to Megazon. These papers came with me. You know, I've looked over it and looked over it, I've talked to people. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tumble Ridge, I wasn't here when you guys were all, but yeah, it was built on mining. Before mining, do you know what was here? Forestry roads. Before the mine was built, it was actually forestry roads. For what? Wood. So I do think that represents some of it. To me, it's not just about wasting taxpayer dollars, but you also have this is going to be a legacy that, those signs out there have been out there for 32 years.
Yeah.
So that means we're building a sign that's going to last another 32 years or 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying steel's not beautiful and part of our heritage, but to me, the wood stands out and it actually looks good.
Yeah, and I disagree with that. I think that you need to respect the heritage, and that's what built the town.
The town was built on mining and metallurgical steel, or metallurgical
Coal to produce steel.
And I mean, the fact that you may be able to get $20,000 or $10,000 or $5,000
From
the coal companies or wind companies to put towards this should be posed to them first before we decide to spend any money. I agree with you.
we've all thought about these signs and talked
About it, banged it around our heads or whatever.
But if there's an opportunity to get some money from somebody else to do it, why not explore that before we make a decision?
Councilor Kirby.
Thank you, Worship. I think these signs are the responsibility of the District of Tumble Ridge. I think the mining companies know that we support them, and I think if they, there's going to be other things that they can contribute to in the community. I think it's going to just delay the process of getting these signs kind of underway. And Canuma gave us $1,000 check with hope to find good use for it. We could put it to one of the signs. But I think as far as going with steel and a beam or anything, to me it doesn't really, it's not a necessity to do that, to show that we support and that we absolutely support our industry. But I think that this is the cost that goes to the district. And maybe if they want to help with site cleanup or just kind of, doing stuff along that end, maybe they could be a help, or I don't know. That's my thought.
Councilor Cat.
I think if anybody driving by there and they see a steel beam, I don't think that's going to be associated with a mine. I mean, unless you put a shovel bucket there beside it, something like that. So I know that what you're trying to do there, Councillor All, but I don't know if that message would kind of be transfixed with anybody driving by there.
Resonates
oh,
with
yeah.
our residents though.
Yeah, and with the residents, like I say, we do have a bucket over here. That talk about bringing tires down and doing something with tires, and so that's the type of thing. But
Just like an option to get some money.
Towards it. It's a lot of money.
So $410,000 we're talking about right now in the budget, maybe more. We did
Do number 4.
just to answer that, put the request out anyway, regardless of what we're going to make of it. At the same time, it doesn't affect our budget.
Yeah, and I think.
Go ahead with it, with or without them. Sorry, Matt.
Are you finished?
Yeah, I'm done.
Ray, reason I go for wood on this is because they look better with wood. This is the first time I've seen them both in the same pamphlet with wood and steel. But send a letter to industry would you like to be part of this, these signs or not? I don't think it would make a difference to them whether that was steel or if it was wood. You could say this is cold down here. That's. I think if there were, I don't think that'd be the make or break thing with the industry decision. That was steel or wood. So I'll be voting for that. Anything else? Okay, so we got a motion for this sign on the way to Chapman. All in favor? Oh, is the big sign, Mike, on the way to Chapman?
Talking wood?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
All All in favor? Opposed? Okay. So now we got highway to the Coal Lodge. Councilor Pickup.
He's gonna be a fan. I make a motion that we use option number 2, coming from Court Lodge Road into the community village.
That's the
Steel.
one. Steel?
That's the hanging sign one. So steel beam hanging out there, to me that looks,
Yeah, it's up.
yeah. To me it looks, sure.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, Councilor Kirby.
I could vote changing the sign, but I think if we change, I would stick with the wood to keep the theme the same.
You made a motion. Did I get a second or that? Okay. Okay, now, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think I could go with changing the sign, but I think that we should stick with the theme, with the wood and rock that goes with the, our theme in the town court.
Anybody else? Okay.
Yeah, I prefer keeping everything uniform, but a question on those signs are, number 2, they look pretty interchangeable. So if we had like the snowmobiling one, doesn't really, maybe good for winter, but maybe not the summer, and it looks like we're only looking at a couple of lag bolts to change that, the whole sign out. So we could go with different options with signs.
Well, that's what they've already said that, there'll be
Okay.
interchangeable.
Yeah.
If ever have a sled or whatever.
Must be snoozing.
Okay. All in favor of that sign, the number 2, made out of steel? All in favor of that? Opposed? Okay, good. I have another motion for that. Councilor Kirby.
I make the motion that we go with, design number, is this 2? Or no, is this design, I'm getting confused, is this design 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, with, in, wood. The intro,
What road?
was this on
This
the
is to the Coal Lodge.
Core Lodge? Yeah, with the interchangeable pictures.
Seconder for that? Okay. Discussion on that.
And this is wood.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, do we wanna send a picture of these to industry and that, see if they wanna be part of it? Whether it be the powering or just a donation towards the sign. Does anybody make that motion?
If Councilor Howe wanted to make that, I would second it. He brought it up.
Definitely for the wind and the lights and the
Yeah.
solar for that side of it, I think we've kind of sealed our fate on getting any donation from the mines at this point, but
I'll make that motion for the
wind industry anyways.
Just a question on that. There was, a cost with different, so we're interested in, when we're making that, ask, is it for the turbines, not for solar panels?
How about whatever they're willing to do? Like, let them tell us what the best thing is for that area.
And, just, your worship on Mr. Wall, but that's, was there, was the point to take that part of the construction of the signs out of it? I know they were giving us some cost estimates that we could include with that. So separating that is not an issue with getting these signs started and moving forward?
I don't understand.
Well,
I understand the question.
okay, Mr. Wall, understand.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, an immediate decision on the powering source is not mission critical, because we can build a sign powering source in later if we needed to, not the best way. Now, I will say the windmill powering is going to be a little bit more challenging than the solar powering, because we're gonna have to find a place to put it where it's gonna get wind and stuff like that. So an earlier decision on wind power is more important than solar. You can stick a solar panel anywhere, right? So it doesn't need to be decided today what power source you want. but we don't wanna leave it too long.
The signs we voted on at this point right now do not have any lights in them. Correct?
No, they have lights in them, yeah.
How are we getting the power for those?
It would be battery.
So we're gonna put batteries somewhere around that sign to power them lights.
And there's the solar part as well. It was
That's
orig-
included in the $75,000.
It was originally proposed with the lights that would be done through battery. Council asked to have solar panels installed, and there was an additional price that was given for.
We discussed solar panels, we didn't give you a motion to do solar panels.
No,
We talked
we-
about that, and we talked about wind turbines.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we got prices on both of those options for council, which is somewhere in here, I believe. So, however council wants to power them, it's up to you.
I personally think the location of the signs should be discussed first, because if they're sitting right beside the power line, why not just use the power off the power line? And, over here, when I've heard discussed, it's right beside the window, where the window power runs, I don't know if that's an option or not. But anyway.
What, remember the cost when we tried to run power into the
Lions Campground,
power line was right there, and
the cost was like $400,000 to run power into the sites there. So I don't think that's a cheap option. Like, I mean, we think it may be, but it wasn't.
previous history, so
That's why I thought that,
batteries is the solution to it. Obviously, they have to be changed out quite frequently, but if you don't have any way to repower the batteries, done.
Well, they're power companies, so they should be able to figure what's the best. But I think we should have a we should decide on a location before sending that, because, it could make a difference
decide on a location for.
for where the signs go. Anyway, so, on sending the letter to the power companies, powering these up, all in favor? Vote.
Your worship, that motion was never seconded, and there was a bunch of
Yes, it was.
discussion.
Yeah.
Seconded by
Well,
Rob.
Councilor Mackay seconded. He said he'll
Uh,
second it if, Councilor Howard.
Yeah, can I just,
No, I was looking at mine's also being included in that. But when it come down to just sending it just to the wind power company themselves? All right. I mean, it should be a blanket right across. I mean, why would the mines also consider it?
Okay, so it's not seconded, and would anybody like to second this motion?
so before we get to seconding the motion, there was discussion between council on what that motion was going to be. Council needs to clearly define what your motion is before we go to a second.
Sure. Yeah.
So the flavor of it is that we write a letter requesting some amount of funding to all the wind companies that are set up in Tumbler Ridge right now. To ask them if they can help us provide the power and the power generation device for the lights on our 3 new signs. 3 signs. Whether that means they decide to give us, say, $5,000, we figure it out ourselves, or $15,000, or they come in and give us a system, leave that up to you guys to figure out, but.
Seconder for that? Okay. Any more discussion on it? Councilor Kirby.
Thank you, your worship. Now, asking for the help, is that to install it also? Or is that just to
Leave
provide money
Leave that up
to,
to staff to figure it out.
well, it's kind of open, okay, so we directing staff.
We don't
to
know what the reply is gonna be from
Okay.
the window companies. If
Okay.
he come in and says,
Okay.
Jesus, we've done these in Vancouver, this is what we do, maybe they can make it a lot easier for us. Or maybe they say, you know what, we'll just give you 15 grand to go away and do it how you guys wanna do it, right? So, we don't know what their response is. So that's why I'd say leave it up to staff.
Okay, all in favor of, sending a letter to the power companies? Opposed? Okay. So I guess we should be through that. Councilor Chaka.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, we've decided on signs, but I heard some chatter in regards to having them flipped out, and the views flipped out and stuff like that.
What?
With the signage flipped out on these signs. Nothing, all we did, approved sign, we've not like, we haven't approved, and then, not to me that I'm willing to see signs flipped out on concept threes, but if somebody wants to flip out a sign on concept two, I don't think we should be buying a whole bunch of different inserts to be flipping signs out. But I just know with discussion, nothing's been worried about this, there's no direction to do, like, for staff.
Okay. So, somebody wanna make a motion towards that?
I just want discussion on it.
Yeah, what's the flip out
Yeah.
thing you're talking?
Yeah.
I don't understand the flip out thing.
Well, they,
Go ahead.
just Council Kirby was earlier was talking about flipping out the icons and all these signs. You know, so obviously ice climber wouldn't be up there. In July, we'd have maybe a shark stand or somebody standing up on the edge. And then same with concept two, changing to sledding in the winter and something else in the summer. To find more pieces for signs. Is what I guess.
Councilor Kirby?
Thank you, Worship. Maybe we could go through Mr. Wall to Mr. Powell, just to give us a little, or Mr. Wall, just on how those are gonna work. What the thought was behind the switching of the signs.
So the thought behind it was,
Yeah.
yeah, council wanted to have the option to switch out the signs, and we do have that ability on these. Mr. Powell was concerned that that ability on sign number 2 doesn't exist because of a conversation he had with Concept Design, but on the spec sheets, it does say it's possible to happen. So I believe it is possible on all of them, and we'll double check that, but I would say council should make their decision based on the information contained within, that you could get different styles for each of the signs if you want.
Thank you, Worship. I like the idea of being able to switch out the, the icons. If it's not a lot of work and just coming back what the cost is to have, a couple of different, options for, I think it's just worth a discussion.
Now that we've decided on the signs, it'd be easy for them to kind of a cost for those signs. You were also talking about having think you can come back again or something on the back side of it.
Yeah.
I think we should, we could ask for the cost and all of that, and then we could decide. I think we do wanna have something on the back.
Fine.
So, we make a motion to have staff, check into the cost of changeable signs and having something put on the back end that says, come back yet.
Okay.
You know, they put on those. You wanna make that motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay, seconder, Kirby. Any more discussion on it? All in favor? Thank you.
Sorry, but you had also mentioned in regards to location, I'm not making a motion, or just a little bit of discussion, is that up to us to decide location, or is that staff?
Well,
If council has somewhere that you want that sign to go, I would say let us know. Otherwise, we're gonna take a look at where's it gonna fit, where's it gonna be seen, and then also the power source that council may choose is gonna factor into that. So I think it's gonna be really tough for council to have a decision, we wanna place this one 734 meters out of town, with a 25-meter setback. That's getting into a level of technicality that I think council's gonna have a tough time making decisions. But having said that, if there's an area where that sign wants to go, so example, council was talking about coming in from Dawson, placing it in that field right before you make your right-hand turn. If you want the sign to go in that field rather than on the highway before you get to that field, yeah, let us know and we can definitely do something like that. But no, you don't have to tell us, this is exactly where each sign is gonna get to.
so if we get an idea, we just bring it to you and,
Bring it to council and council can tell me where to go, yeah.
okay, so are we gonna have a PMP on this? Is that what you're telling me?
No, unless council wants to. I'm saying if council has a specific location where you want one of the signs to go, you should bring it to council, or, you know, the best way, again, going through all the best practice stuff, bring it to me, have a conversation, then bring it to council, get your decision, and then the direction comes to staff. So I just want to be clear where you're saying, you know, come talk to me. It's not come talk to Jordan, I want the sign here, and then I'll go and put it there, right?
Because I think you gotta put those big signs up because you think people wanna take pictures of them.
Yep.
So we also gotta have an area where they can drive their vehicle up and have a picture of this. Yeah, something to keep in mind.
We will do our best on that, but if we're talking about building pull-offs off the highway, take that budget and triple it. So,
Yeah, but there are pull-offs that are there already, so. Okay. So that takes us to schedule the meetings. You got anything you want to change on there? Seeing none?
March 5th, last budget meeting. Is it the last budget meeting?
Oh, is it?
scheduled, if council wants more budget meetings, you guys can call. But our goal is to have everything pretty much ready to go and put in that package. Same thing we did last year, where we get our operating and capital projects ready to go. Council makes that approval, and the final budget can't be done until the province comes out with their final roll numbers, where you set the taxes. But we have the preliminary roll numbers, so you'll be able to take a look at generally what you're going to end up, because we don't see major fluctuations between preliminary roll and final roll. So there will be other budget meetings, especially at the end towards April, where we need to get those 3 readings. But same as last year, we'll be looking for that approval of that package so staff can get working on these projects.
Okay. Just, motions is none?
Maybe there was a motion.
Oh, okay.
In regards to bringing the district vehicle policy, council, and I'm highly asking your worship to have that enclosed at the beginning, at first.
Closed, E&P for policy, can we justify that?
My opinion is, no, this is an open topic. If there's issues that need to be discussed and closed, they should be discussed with me if it has to do with staff. So that would be my recommendation on it. Overall policy changes need to be discussed in open, for sure.
Well, I was in it to talk to Mr. Wall, and it's not about changing the policy right at the start, but it doesn't have to happen at the beginning, I just think there needs to be a discussion. And I have talked to Mr. Wall. That's up to council.
And I think at any time that a councillor feels something should be discussed and closed, there's absolutely no reason for us to go to closed, not to go to closed, and then discuss it. If that councillor is wrong, it's better for them to be wrong in a closed meeting
Than to say something in public that just,
says something bad about a staff member
or says something bad about a member of the public or releases some information that's not supposed to be released. It happens very quickly.
So if
Any councillor feels that they want to go to closed, I actually think it's part of the community charter that you can go to that
just for that,
reason.
to look at it.
I'm not sure if that is part of the community charter, but, Mr. Molly, there are rules to go about going to close and not going to close.
That's correct. So it's not my decision whether something goes into closed or not go into closed. I had a discussion with Councillor Kokoka. I told him my opinion on it. If there's issues that are with an identifiable staff member, that's something that the CAO deals with. Councillor Kokoka obviously feels that he still needs to have that discussion in closed. my advice to council is that if there's issues with identifiable staff members, that I'm the one who should be dealing with it, not council. Otherwise, if council is going to be talking about identifiable staff members, it does need to be in closed. So that's where I will leave it. My advice is that it best practices wouldn't be, but if you're going to be having that discussion, it should be in closed. So council can decide where to go.
Do you want to have a discussion with me and then,
That's fine, and then you make a decision.
all right, so we'll go with that. Great, that takes us to council's business. Anybody,
We had the community forest, we had our strategic planning session on January 12th and 13th. Got quite a lot accomplished. Was facilitated by Sue Kenny from Community Futures. And also I'd like to thank Mr. Powell for attending both days, and we had a lot of conversation in regard to how we could dovetail some of the services that the town and we should maybe be providing in regards to things like newsletters and that we've lost the newspaper. I think there's something we could do together and get maybe a monthly delivered by mail or whatever. So but just to make it work and at least let everybody know what's going on, not only within the district but with the community forest. We had a change in our chair of the board. Congratulations, Mr. Beal. He's our new chairman. We talked a little bit about some of the things that's taken place or assessment by the Forest Practices Board. The results were good to exceeds expectations. And just a couple of things here. We had a little bit of a go around about some of the things that have taken place over the 5 years. We had a review on that and what we expect to do going ahead. Some of the things we've done was we're looking at upgrading some of our policies there, asset managements, the budget requests, that sort of thing, to streamline and make it maybe a little more, give it a little more, so people, when you're putting in for a grant, the rules are set down precisely what grants are for and what we do cover, what we don't. Having a little bit of an issue with things like wages, people looking for wages and that. To date, just a couple of things. To date, we've given excess of $250,000 back into the community to various clubs, everything from Ladies Auxiliary to just about every club that's asked and met our criteria has been pretty well received grants, and that does not include the 175 that's sitting on the sidelines. As far as the replantation, well, it's just want to go through here that to date we have replanted 1.5 million seedlings, and they're monitored to see the best practices of when they should be planted, and maybe we were planting a little bit into the summer. It's now deemed that the best thing to do is get out there probably as soon as possible before after the chance of flooding, but as close to spring as possible. And this spring here we have another 378 seedlings. So we're way ahead of the game in replantation, and a lot of and most of it's doing very well. So a couple of things just like to commend. Again, Mr. Beal, Firefighter of the Year. That's a great award, pretty prestigious, and you've definitely put the time in. Sure appreciate the time and effort. I know I've seen you, and you've talked about it many times in the middle of the night. Same as any firefighter, they're all out there, and all our emergency service out there at all times of the night. And also welcome for being you got a new addition to the family. So great to hear. That's it.
I just suggest to you that we've asked Chamber to look at coming up with a newsletter. So maybe it's something that you could have a blurb into. So maybe you kill two birds with one stone.
Definitely.
Anybody else? Councilor Kirby.
Thank you, Worship. I don't know, January was meeting month, I think. We've got a lot of issues in front of council with Northern House being right at the top of the list coming up this week. I know there's been a lot of chatter on Facebook, and that, you know, it's important that the community knows that council will be taking this and head on here right away. I had meetings with all of the groups that I'm liaison to. I think most importantly, the Museum Foundation. I think it would be good to get them in to a PMP before, you know, grant and aid talks come up. Just to kind of, you know, I think there's going to be some, we've got some big decisions coming there. We had a Councillor Howe and Councillor Scott were able to sit in. We had a phone conversation with Bruce White, who's the senior head of tourism here for the ministry, and he kind of gave us an overview on the visioning session and just kind of some topics that, you know, that didn't kind of get resolved through that. And just on things that maybe this council could look at is defining the roles within that organization, just how they overlap with the geopark. And you know, just that the funding is not there. Provincial funding does not look bright. The avenues of where we can go to are slim. So I would like to put a recommendation that we invite the museum board in for a PNP. I'm not sure if we have time to do that before grant and aid discussions and budget, but it would sure be nice if we could do that.
Seconder for that? Okay. Any discussion on it?
Are there any other people that should be involved in that P&P besides just the board? Meeting, we discussed other people as well.
Well, like
We were gonna bring the people from the ministry as well, I remember.
well, we had,
There seems to be, this is their take on it and our take and his take and that. And if you have them all in the same room, you at least get the correct story or whatever from it. That's the way I feel about it. I don't feel I have
The correct information to make the choice.
to continue supporting the museum at this point, so. I wanna make sure we give them the opportunity to present the information, all of them. There's other people, I just can't remember who they are right now.
I don't know what timelines, like we were lucky that we had a chat with Tammy Danch and Bruce White, but I think just, it's gonna be, I think the Geopark and the Museum Foundation are working together to try to work on an MOU. I don't think that's gonna be happening before this budget is coming up. I guess what we need to do is we need to sit down with the museum, and we have to figure out which way, you know, what kind of funding, where we're gonna go with that. I know that they're always looking for their money up front. Again, they're looking for money so they can move forward on planning this year. They have a couple of conferences they're looking at. But like I said at the meeting, is that their budget doesn't hold them to where it meets with our budget. So we're kind of, our hands are tied there. But, you know, I don't know I think it's, you know, to get the other groups in, Will, I know we had talked, I don't think we can do that, get everybody together before then, but I think we need to sit down with we could sit down with the museum and let them,
Fair enough.
you know, one thing that they said at the meeting is that they were disappointed that Dr. Hellman invited council to come in and to talk with them when you had asked them to come and present, and they were disappointed that we didn't go there. And I said, the reason that we asked you to come to council was so that you can present to us and so that the public can also be a part of it. Just to keep everybody, you know, information out there. But
So, anybody else got anything to put into that? All in favor of having them to P&P? Opposed? We've got to try and do it as quick as we can.
Well, you guys be making decisions on your grant and aid here on February 20th. Is it February 20th? And so there's only one P&P February 19th. There's only one P&P between now and then, and that's the 13th. So either that, or you're gonna have to call a new meeting.
So we could have it after the doctor, after we have our conversation with the doctor.
Yeah, that's up to you.
I think we need an extra meeting there, just because I believe on 13th, the community force is on that meeting as well. So that's, to me, that's two big tickets. I know it's council, I don't wanna be, like, to me, that's the idea, these people, bringing these PMPs back so we can get right down into it and have a good discussion.
So do you have a date?
I don't, but I just, I mean, I know everybody's schedules are,
Could we go early on the 19th? Could we go like 4 o'clock on the 19th?
19th?
Do the PMP before and then do the 3 o'clock, 3:30, whatever.
like on the regular meeting, do a PMP ahead of time or discussion with
Or was it? Yeah, that's a regular council meeting to have,
Just do it before the meeting.
Yeah.
Then it's fresh in our mind before.
For the 19th?
It's
Yeah,
done.
council can do that. You've gotten angry at administration a number of times for putting things in front of you where you make decisions on the next, so I'm just telling you
We don't
that's what you
necessarily
guys
have
will
to
be
make a
doing.
decision on the 19th though, do we?
Yeah, you're granting an aid application.
It's the 5th, yeah, 'cause I know I won't be ready to so.
I don't know, any suggestions?
The meeting, right?
It's,
Like I just say the same thing, Council Helmut, like started earlier, 3:30, whatever, give them an hour and then we have a half-hour break and back to our regular meeting.
they're the ones that are really looking to work this thing through, so the 5th, I would think.
So we're gonna have it set up as a P&P, take it down, and then go to a regular council meeting, is what you wanna do?
Well, for that one there, we could do it as a lot less work.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, so they'll sit in the gallery and you guys will sit up here.
Yeah.
So-
Yes.
So just on that, instead of starting at 4, what about 3:30? And doing a round table. I mean, we're trying to,
Okay, we can do a round table, if that's what council wants.
I'm just giving my opinion. I'm not council,
I would
I'm
do
just
that.
I'm just giving my opinion. I mean, in regards to setting it back up, I mean, I'll volunteer. Move the chairs. Place back just like Mr. Will has it.
Put it back.
Is-
I just
No, no.
thought it was just a little easier.
I'm talking, the
Yeah,
5 PM meeting is gonna be 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock, but 3:30 might be better. Would everybody be okay with 3:30?
Fine with me.
Is 3:30 and 5th? And round table? Anything else? I've got a whole bunch of stuff, but I've been so busy lately, I haven't been able to put it together. One thing I did want to say is I wanted to thank the firefighters for inviting me to the AGM. It was awesome. I really enjoyed myself. Thank you very much. I guess I can talk a little bit about our meeting with HD and with Anglo-American. I guess, like I say, on the good side, your future looks pretty good because they haven't backed out of building the mines or operating the mines. Anglo has told us that they're looking at probably 2 years before they'll be operating. And I think they're, just from the conversation, I think they're looking like that's when he thinks it's gonna happen, but it could happen before that. HD, 7 years, is what they said. They're gonna do a lot of construction out there. When they do get the final decision to put the money in. They spent, what they say, $200 million already, and seems strange to me it spent $200 million and then have to sit back and say, well, do we really want to do it? But that's where they're at. they wanna do it, the chairman wants to get it done. We talked about a lot of things there, about training and all that, and I think they're under the opinion that there's a question whether they'll find enough Canadians that wanna do that. But we talked that that's what we want to see is training here in Tumber Ridge when the decision is made. I think it'd be up to us to push the provincial government in that direction. I think we got a really good argument. I think the NDP will support that. Anyway, just to let you know that it's, these rumors about them starting tomorrow isn't happening. So, but like I said, they do still have the interest, they still want to do it. The market's good, everybody said the market's good. It just, what Anglo said really is that when you got a company as big as them and their head office in London, it takes a long time. It's kind of like government to get these decisions made. And they could all of a sudden make that decision tomorrow. I'm not looking for it. Anyway, that's what we heard from them. And like I said, I got a whole bunch of other stuff from these other meetings I've been at, but I just haven't had a chance to put it together.
Thank you, Worship. Just one more note on the fire at the community center. Thank goodness all of our stuff worked well, because wow, if we lost our community center, that would have been a hit. But that's good work on that also.
Also, that now that Joanne raises that point there, I wanted to bring something up with that as well. So in last year's budget discussions, we had talked about new SCBA's for the fire department. And during those budget discussions, I was against us purchasing SCBA's for the fire department because I thought $180,000 was too much money for new oxygen bottles. After talking with some of the firefighters, I understand that there's a lot more to these new packs than just new air bottles. And when it was explained to me that the type of packs that they have and the ability for them to get into the packs quicker, and they have infrared cameras right on their packs, they have better speakers, better monitoring systems. When that was fully explained to me and how that firefighter was so adamant about how awesome those tanks were, he was very, very thankful that they had those for fire situations just like this, and also for their ability to get in and out of the truck. There's some ease and access of getting in and out of the truck as well. So I just wanted to point that out that unfortunately I was completely wrong on that one. But I think if I had had maybe better information from the firefighters, like that type of stuff was involved in it, then I'd just like to sit up here and I'll eat my words on that. I'm glad we had the right gear for them.
And that brings me to another point that we've been talking at the regional district about wildfires and that. And it came up, they talked about reducing the fuel, which is Duncan has been telling us we've got to do. And they agree that there's more to it than that. And when I asked the guy that was there was, I guess they got a sprinkler system that stops fires, forest fires. They do it for the oil patch. It's not something that we want to look at having because it's really expensive. But what he said was that we should be, if it needs training or talking to our firefighters, get them to put in their recommendation to council along with the community force and the fuel, get rid of the fuel, to come up with a decision for the community. And I like that idea. Now we get somebody that lives right here in Tumber Ridge making some of these decisions. And what's the whole thing that we should be shooting for? Is to make this thing safe for our firefighters, if they feel safe about fighting it. So they come to us and say, well, those trees there should go because we don't think that I'd want to go in there and fight a fire with that type of trees there. I mean, that's the type of thing that we need from our firefighters. So I think we should be asking our Dustin to look at this and maybe talk to Duncan sometime along the way and come back to us with some recommendations about what we should be doing to safeguard this town as much as we can. I know there's never going to be a point where there isn't going to be a chance of fire here. But I'll say it again, as long as the firefighters feel that we've done enough to make them as safe as we can, and that includes equipment, like you just said there. think that's where we should go, and it's another discussion for another PMP, I guess. Okay, I guess that's it. Unless you got some questions.
I did actually have a question, if that's okay. And if this isn't answerable now, that's totally fine. I'll wait the grant and aid meeting. But I had a question in regards to community forest funding. Hate to bring up sour grapes again, but what is the amount that the district gives forest? I tried to look at the budgets, and grant and aid and public services were all just lumped together. Is there,
We don't fund the community forest, they're a self-funded entity, they produce a profit that, through their community forest legislation,
okay.
is put back into the community through grants, so it doesn't cost the district anything, it's revenue generating.
So, can I add to that question? So then, to Councillor Mackay, that $174,000 that community forest wants to give back to the city, that wasn't like money that was given to community forest, that was self-raised and something that you guys want to give back.
Definitely, it's free money. It's money that most of the work we're doing is prescriptive, with the exception of uplifts, that type thing. And there's definitely areas that's been targeted for the monetary value and the profit, and we're good at it. We found out that we're actually we have got the Duncan McKellar is worth his weight in gold as far as most people on board are concerned, all of us actually. It costs the district nothing, including, by the way, fire mitigation, which was going to be a cost the last time we went, and it ended up there was no cost to the district for that, and again the community forest turned a small profit on it, not as much, and a lot of it goes right back into like chipping, putting that on trails, and so a lot of benefits.
Interesting, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, adjournment. Councillor Howe, in favor?